being consistent over time, because not all shows take off, but those people that are consistent, the thing is with our system, we allow people to be consistent, even if you're not. Consistency takes time. YouTube takes time. It's definitely a marathon, not a sprint. If you're trying to go for that virality factor, it can happen, but it might not necessarily happen for your channel right away. We've done everything because we've been able to learn through our own company, then we can apply it for other people.
Hi, and welcome to Speaker Live. I'm your host, Leah Woodford, and with me today is the amazing Tamara. Tamara, let's tell them about what you do.
It's a loaded question.
I know. Tamara Thompson, I'll tell you this. She is amazing when it comes to YouTube and podcasts, and she's part of my team. She's also an amazing speaker, but she is the wind beneath my YouTube channel.
I got to give the credit to our team as well, though. So I do a lot of like the strategy side, but we have great team members that run everything on the optimization front, to the creativity access point, to distributing out the show. So not just the YouTube channel videos, but also the audio podcast piece of it. We manage a Speaker Life podcast, and the way that this actually transformed into why we do what we do. I think it's important to share a little bit of that backstory. Years ago, I was unfulfilled in my career. A lot of you might have had that thought in the process at some point. So I was in the fitness industry for a good 8 years, and there was a lot of things going on that I knew I wanted more, and I want something different. And then this thing called YouTube came out, if you've heard of it. And I was like, what is this thing, right? This beast. I wanted to tackle it. So yes, of course, this was several years ago, all the cat videos. But since then, fast forward, we've leveraged YouTube in more of the business professional space. And so it took actually about 4 years for my friends and colleagues and family to encourage me to actually go back to film school in my late 20s. So I was in film school, and I knew I wanted to do more. And I love telling people stories, and I love inspiring impact and things like that. And so what happened was, in the beginning, I used to actually just get people's attention through Twitter. Now it is X, but I used to get celebrities' attention. And I tweet them and I provide value. But back in the day, my partner, she knew that I literally would reach out to people that were on X Factor and American Idol and things like that. But they were all starving artists, right? She was like, you need to reach out to people like business owners, entrepreneurs. And then Shark Tank came out, right? So there's a lot of things that evolved. From wanting to do things on YouTube, to going back to film school in my late 20s, to starting a production company in Seattle, Washington, to having a similar system to what we do now with and for our clients like Leah. It all transformed back in 2012. We had a piece of content, which now we would call a teaser or trailer video. And these days we'd of course call TikTok shorts reels. And we led this trailer back to a long form piece of content. And all of a sudden, we didn't check the video for like 10 days. We come back, we're like, what happened? All of a sudden, there's 888,000 views. Yes, angel numbers. 888,000 views to one YouTube trailer. And all of a sudden, it got traction back to the full-length video, which was a documentary film that I directed. Then we started applying that method to all of our other clients' trailer videos. But back then we were doing one-off projects, but we knew we wanted to help more people consistently. So after going through different processes of that, all of a sudden, all of our clients' trailer videos were taking off on YouTube, going back to their brand story documentaries for corporations, influencers, CEOs. And we said, okay, this YouTube thing is amazing. So let's figure this out. Once we did that, then we actually joined some high-level mastermind groups and entrepreneurial groups. And this one gal came up to us and she said to Danielle and I, she said, hey, you know what? She was like, I have this podcast with these gentlemen in the room, but they're only doing the audio side. And you guys are so amazing with video. And Leah always talks about how important video is.
Video is everything.
It's very powerful. And she was like, I would love to be your first client. I would like you to come into a sustainable subscription model. And we did just that. We're like, let's do it. Let's take this on. And then we applied the same method that we did for the documentaries to the podcasting teasers and trailers. And then it took off. And then it went down the line over several years. We work with over a couple hundred podcasts weekly at this point We've got a vast team behind the scenes running all the channels and doing everything. I love the strategy piece. I love speaking on stages. It's helped build authority and brand, and the media is so important.
It is.
So that really is what happened is we have this whole system that we do. It's all content marketing focus, but also paying attention to the data, right? Like seeing like on Speaker Life, what's the content that took off? Yes, Robert Kiyosaki, because his name is highly searched on YouTube, right? Colin Egglesfield. I was grateful to be able to introduce him at our event, right? So I hired Colin to be the MC at our event and introduced you two there. And so that was cool to be able to do that. And then he was on your show. It's like a ripple effect, right? And so from that point, he was able, and he's very kind and giving and sharing. He turned around and shared out a lot of the content to his hundreds of thousands of followers. And that helped her channel grow as well. And so it's just really being strategic about the type of content you're putting out there in your niche, paying attention to the data, and then reapplying that each week with your weekly content or your weekly show or your weekly podcast primarily.
Absolutely. Now, how many of you guys have ever thought about a podcast? Okay. Now, isn't it true that most podcasters quit after their 8th show around then?
That would be a high stat. I think we always teach our clients to do batch recording to make it more simplified on yourself, right? You're just like us. We go into the studio, we record an entire season in 2 to 3 days, right? Because I value time and energy. You do a very similar process. You come in and do that. And not everybody wants to do that. And sometimes they have virtual interviews and things like that. There is a high percentage of people that don't make it past their first 8 interviews, but they have to understand that consistency takes time. YouTube takes time. It's definitely a marathon, not a sprint. If you're trying to go for that virality factor, it can happen, but it might not necessarily happen for your channel right away.
Well, that's true. And my channel's only 4 months old. So imagine my surprise. I'm listening to Joe Dispenza, because you're not supposed to look at your phone first thing in the morning. And then I thought, okay, well, I got to go into the studio. I better at least look what I have going on. And then all of a sudden, I was so pleasantly surprised that our YouTube channel had 100,000 views. So I think it was probably 6:30 in the morning that I texted you. Oh my God,
don't look at the phone that early. No, just kidding.
Yeah, but it can do it. But what I love about her team is they're really, really good at what they do. And we play well together.
Yes. Well, it's good to be able to listen to you and what you want to share, but also collaborate, right? So like we come in and we say, hey, Leah, like this is the content that took off. Was it 1, because she had a high-level guest on that? Was it 2, because that high-level guest shared the content? Was it 3, because people are highly searching that topic, right? So those are all the things we're looking at and paying attention to the numbers. And then after doing reporting, throughout each month or quarter or however it's structured, then you're saying, hey, like this did really well. We suggest to do something very similar to that or a part 2. And that really helps channels take off as well. We had a gentleman start with us in February. He had about 147 subscribers to his YouTube channel. He's on a very specific niche. He's got a med spa in Rhode Island. And this doctor, he has a very important story, an impactful story that he wanted to share as well, that he went through himself. And he has a very specific thought about biopsies. So he had this whole piece of content take off around prostate cancer because he himself also went through that. And then it's a very sensitive topic. But because this one piece of content, the first month took off. So again, he had 147 subscribers to YouTube starting February. This is now October. He has 17,000 new subscribers because he paid attention to the data that took off the first 30 days. We said, doctor, do a part 2. He did just that. He does everything that we tell him what to create around the topics and the keywords. He goes in every Monday. He batch records the content. He has a solo show. So he's positioning himself as the authority in educational content for his show and podcast. A lot of people have guests on their shows. So there's different things. You could do a hybrid on that side. But this gentleman has gotten over 8 million impressions to his channel now. But the more strategic part of it that we like to come in and talk to people is say, like Leah was saying about your offers, right? You have the visibility. You're leading them through digital products and offers. what the biggest thing there was, he said, well, now how can we help monetize this even more? So he had all these gentlemen. That first video had about 1,500 comments the first week.
Wow.
And I said to the doctor, I said, this is going to put some time and energy on you, right? But I said, will you take time this weekend with his wife, that's also a nurse practitioner? I said, will you two go in and actually comment back to these 1,500 people because you know best the answers to this?
Right.
He said, 100% will go in there. They took the weekend. They took a trip up to New Hampshire, and they were like, we were just on our mobile device. We were commenting back. That helped the algorithm push even harder. And then he was like, he's like, you wouldn't believe it. All of a sudden, we were getting calls, and these men were flying in for consults into our Rhode Island office. And I said, now let's leverage a way to help open up opportunities, other 1,500 men that might not be able to fly into your office. I said, do you have access or a point that is allowed and legal through your practice that you can teach? And he said, 100%. They created and opened up a membership community that they charge $49 per month to help share information to these gentlemen that commented on the YouTube video. They now have 7,000 members in their community.
That's amazing. And when did that start? I mean, that's a pretty new client, right?
February, about 6 months.
That is amazing. How many of you guys would like to have results like that?
Yeah. It's about being strategic, and it's not like the average result for everybody when they get going. But when you have that offer in place, you have the positioning factor, you pay attention to the data, and it takes off, that does happen. It's happened for several of our clients too. And some of them get a little bit amped up over time, like 4 months, 6 months, 8 months. They actually say that YouTube alone, when you first start a brand new channel, the average individual doesn't actually reach their first 1,000 subscribers until about 18 months. So
I did it in a month.
Yes. And I would say our clientele will reach that first subscriber mark within 4 to 6 months.
You did it in the first month for me, Tamara.
And so that's what's, again, paying attention to the data, but also making sure you have other things going on. So people learn about the magazine and everything else going on, your events.
So Tamara, what is the biggest mistake most podcasters make?
Well, it might go back to that point where they give up too early. They expect something to happen overnight, like this doctor did have that, like more overnight success. Not everybody's show goes over success. We've had our show, Broadcast Your Authority, on YouTube, and our audio podcast. So we just recorded our 10th season, and we record our show at SiriusXM. It's our power partner out in Las Vegas. So I fly out there each quarter to record our entire season with SiriusXM at this point. But it took us time to actually build that show out, and we also leverage our podcast as a lead generation and relationship building tool. And that has been our primarily focus on individuals that like, wow, she's got this show that's on SiriusXM. I want to be on this show. How can I be on your show? Here's a couple of ways that you can actually do that. So it's just like being smart about, like what that show is, but like being consistent over time, because not all shows take off, but those people that are consistent. But the thing is, with our system, we allow people to be consistent, even if you're not. You can batch record. Look, 4 episodes in one sitting. You can change your outfit and literally be like, I just did my whole show for the month in 2 hours time. Who can do 2 hours in 1 month, right? I believe everybody in this room can. Because our team does the rest. Like they literally record the content, pass it off. We do everything else. The editing, the description, the copywriting, the reels, the shorts, the posting to social media. Everything just goes out on distribution just like clockwork, basically. So.
Absolutely. Working with her team, I can tell you, I can interview in my studio and I'll batch a bunch of shows, like you said. We'll take that, just like we're doing right now. We will take this content, we will transcribe it, put it in article form. It goes into the magazine, but then Tamara's team takes that raw footage, they dice it up. It goes on TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube.
Yeah, and you can also repurpose. You can also repurpose the show notes that our copywriters do all that for. You can repurpose it into a LinkedIn article, newsletter, that format. So there's so many different things that you can create with this full content marketing system.
One show goes just dozens of places. I love the repurposing aspect But I really thought it was going to be more difficult than it was. Tamara's got an amazing team, but we both believe that you have to create your own media. And let me tell you why. Social media. How many of you guys lost a channel, right? Social media can go away at any time. It's like renting a house. It is not yours. When you build
it's like MySpace back in the day.
Yeah.
Where did MySpace
Remember
go?
what happened to MySpace?
I did love MySpace back then.
I did too. I did.
Just like music.
I know. It was fun, but it can go away. And a lot of it's going to hinge on legislation. We just don't know what's going on. Who's on first
you
now?
Didn't know. You didn't know if TikTok would again like close down. We don't know these things. It's about just being consistent, being out there on the platforms and being able to just consistently post the content. Being omnipresent is super important as well. And
can you explain to our viewing audience what omnipresent is?
So omnipresence is really that key term of just being visible and be that authority everywhere across all platforms, right? So that's our specific content marketing system too. And so there's different ways that people come and work with us too, not just leveraging it on the organic side. People can come in with, you have like larger budgets on things and like, hey, I'd like to actually formulate. So that's the strategy piece that I love is saying like, hey, let's repurpose this micro content, the shorts, the TikTok videos, the reels. What are the top performing shorts on your channel that drove traffic? Pay attention to that data, that reel. When you have an extra ad spend for actual paid ads and Google ads, then you can actually drive more traffic back to that short, back to the full-length video too, and put a little bit more amplification on that omnipresence piece, specifically on YouTube and Google. And so that helps too. And my brain always cranks about additional information. But another thing that we've taught our clients too is when you do pay attention to that data and you do have extra budgets for ad spends on things, Leah, you could turn around and say, hey, this was a top performing short. I totally talked about the magazine at this point. Like, okay, let's utilize this short. Let's put ad spend behind it and let's drive traffic, not just to the long form video, but let's drive traffic back to the magazine. Right.
And you don't have to have a $10,000 budget to advertise. How can people start off in advertising?
I always say I recommend at least $500 in some sort of ad spend. I would, on the other hand, be like, please, $5,000 at least, because you really have to test that. If you're just playing with it in order to drive more views or maybe more subscribers and just kind of test that market out. If you're a small business owner, you could start with like as little as $500 a month. But if you're applying that to 4 different episodes, then you have to think about, okay, that's at least $100 per episode to drive traffic back to that. And then what am I going to apply that extra $100 towards? And so that really is the thing that I always say like, we've had results where, just an example, we drove $7,000 in ad spend to one campaign of ours. We generated $358,000 in profit from that one campaign that 1 month, right? And that's $7,000. The majority, when you talk about mindset, a lot of people, kind of like, I'm gonna do $10 per video, right? Like that might not get you where you want to be, but when you expand and you start growing your business and you actually start to add more to it and do the tests, like we'll talk to people where they say, oh, I spent I spent $20,000 in ads and I made $30,000 in profit. To me, that's not a very good margin.
Right.
You just gained about $10,000. The $7,000 to $358,000, that is a significant piece, right? But it's also about paying attention to that data and the content that's top performing, right? So YouTube and Google, they're like, this one's working. Go do stuff with this one, right? And so that's what we focus on is like, well, what's that? But that's not like a typical, response. But if people are willing to test it and you're like, I've got that credit card, I'm going to do that and see what happens. Start little, like $500 a month, up it to $2,000 a month. When you start to see clientele come through and your mindset's so much bigger on that piece of it, especially when you're talking about how you're going to teach about high ticket offers, we have a lot of high ticket offers. We've went into that high ticket realm, high ticket service space, but we do a whole one-stop shop. So it's very
Boutique.
Boutique, yes. But we see quite a few results for our clientele. So,
and I can speak from personal experience. Yes, you do. And we have, what I like about her podcast is she creates experiences for her clients. And I want to unpack that a little bit because so many people do not create experiences. Like we're going to be doing a podcast in a jet for your clients. Can we talk about that? You've done race cars. I mean, it's making it fun.
That's the one thing I think that people come to us for because we unlock these experiences. We unlock these bonus opportunities for our clients. And then we partner with our power partners that could allow for these amazing experiences where you don't just have to come into a studio and record, right? So one of our experiences back in April, we reserved and rented out the Nomad Library, which is within the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. So it's a very private library, and it's catered to. So the Rockefellers donated 25,000 books to that library, which is gorgeous, high ceilings, like gorgeous for filming. And Lady Gaga did a private New Year's Eve performance there. So we think about these classy places that people are like, not everyone goes there. Right? They don't all have access to this. So that's one experience. The SiriusXM experience, we unlock that opportunity for clients to come out to Vegas and go through there, and then we give back. So our show's not about us, it's about everybody else. So when it's us, we always have 4 co-hosts. So it's myself, Danielle, 2 other co-hosts, and we rotate. So I say, Leah, you're going to come out to our next one in Vegas in January, we'll talk about.
Oh, I'm just hearing about this.
So our next one coming up, we would invite our clients out. Lee would come out and be featured in SiriusXM as her spotlight. Then we say, Leah, come on this side of the desk. And we know how great you are with broadcasting, so it's going to be perfect. And then she'll come in and be a co-host for 2 other episodes. And then we match make. So we make sure that the people on the panels are also very in alignment with their companies and brands. Then we treat everyone to a private fine dining dinner to connect the dots with everybody in the room, right? So there's
you do that so well too.
I love experiences. I love fine dining, but this is something that I've built over the years and am able to do so now. Like we started our company from scratch, from nothing, built from the ground up, no funding, no ask from the parents, anything. Everything was built organically based on relationships. And then we found paid advertisements. We're like, oh, why didn't we do this sooner? Now we amplify it.
But now I have a question for you. How important is it when you start the paid advertising, is it to have a good offer at the end?
You must have a significant offer. You must have your landing pages or even your lead magnet sequence in there. I'm always consulting with our clients too. Like, let me see your landing page. Let me see your offer. Let me see your messaging. Because if it doesn't pick up on the message and you can't grab them with that hook from, well, first you got their hook from the short, right? You're like, okay, cool. That they get to the landing page. And then you're watching the conversions. So like last month, one of our clients, she has this Limitless Life Club, and she had 88 conversions from that short back into her club, right? And so we paid attention to the data based on the content that did the best on her YouTube channel to do that. So it's important to have the clear messaging though, because if something's not working, most likely it's the messaging and marketing. It's not a strong enough call to action. It's not there's something there where it's like, I need this now, right?
So this is why you need professionals. These are why you need the experts, because you can spend a lot of money and really go down a rabbit hole with nothing. I spent $30,000 on production I couldn't use, and I spent a lot of money on a coach to create an ugly magazine. So I'm just going to tell you, you really, again, it's not spending money, it's investing in your future.
Yeah, it's about investing. There is trial and error through things. Not everything always falls into place. But once you do find those tests, and I always say you'll hire the ones that do what they do, right? Because there's plenty of people out there. I've seen ads agencies that don't run ads for their company, but they run ads for other people. I always hire and invest in people that do the exact system that they do. Like we have our own podcast. We do all the content marketing. We do the ads. So we've done everything because we've been able to learn through our own company. Then we can apply it for other people.
Wow, so much to learn. Looks like we are just out of time, but will you come back, Tamara?
Of course, anytime.
This has been Leah Woodford with Speaker Life Magazine. We'll see you next time.